Snoop Mogg, the Mogg father, Mogmentum, the honourable member for the 19th century. I can only be talking about Jacob Rees-Mogg, the Tory MP for North East Somerset, a man with whom large parts of the country are, if we're to believe The Sun, completely smitten. And thanks to Rachel, last week's Straight Talker of the Week.
Even though every fibre of my being passionately disagrees with him, I'd like to award it to Flavour of the Month MP Jacob Rees-Mogg for his bravery on Good Morning Britain.
Among the oh-so-lovable views of the man who appears to have been born in a pinstripe suit and a copy of the Financial Times in his hand are opposition to same-sex marriage, abortion and changing his own children's nappies. How adorable. In a world in which the rights of gay people, women and oppressed minorities in general were absolutely guaranteed, I too might be able to laugh at the nostalgic idiosyncrasy of Jacob Rees-Mogg and applaud his courage in saying how he truly feels. But I live in a world where women are still paid less at work and change the nappies at home and still have to fight for control of their own bodies, where gay people still get attacked in the streets, where a proud misogynist is in the White House and a trans woman who has the audacity to voice her views is not regarded with affectionate interest but made a pariah. I'm not saying I can tell Jacob Rees-Mogg what to believe. I hear what he does and I'm definitely not laughing.
Afua, yes, I mean, I agree with a lot of what you say, but Jacob is becoming a cult figure, not because of what he says, but sort of how he says it.
Yeah.
It's a style over substance, and actually what he said last week on another TV show, not nearly as good as this one, was actually extremely, in a sense, offensive. So.
And you said at the time last week you didn't agree with any of it.
However, let's first, before I launch into how offensive it was, can we just see what Jacob Rees-Mogg said in response to being awarded our gong? What the Mogster says is, I'm honoured to have been given the Straight Talker of the Week award by Sky News The Pledge. As the panel disagreed with my views, I admire and am grateful for their commitment to free speech. OK, can we just break down what he actually said? He said that marriage was a sacrament and had nothing to do with Parliament, and that he was opposed to abortion on all grounds, whether it be the product of rape or whether the conception be the product of rape or incest. Mm-hmm. Now, he is entitled, even Tories are entitled to their views and to their religious beliefs, but what he said was drastically wrong and in opposition to what most of the country and even his Catholic faith believes, and also went against three of the most progressive acts we have seen pass through Parliament since 1967. The Abortion Act, the Homosexuality, the Legalisation of Homosexuality Act, both in 1967. And indeed, Cameron, his former Prime Minister's proudest hour, which was the institution of same-sex marriage. So the Mogster is completely at odds with most of the country, his own party and his religion.
I think what I'm getting, what's kind
of... I'm agreeing with you.
I know. We agree a lot on this. And I think when listening to you, I think it's helping me crystallise what's bothering me here, which is not what he actually believes so much, because, as you all know, I'm completely committed to free speech. It's more that so many people seem so impressed by it. That people are so willing to be... How am I committed to
You're censoring... I mean, I've never heard such po-faced twaddle as I heard from you. If we are to believe what you just said in your introduction, you think he's opposed to gay rights, do you? Opposed to gay people, I'm sorry. He has no problem with homosexuals, because I've actually interviewed him at length about this.
Are some of his best friends homosexuals, Nick?
You seem to... Sorry?
Are some of his best friends homosexuals?
No idea, does it
Probably.
matter?
Well, it sort of does, actually.
You also seem to hold him responsible for President Trump arriving.
I didn't hold him responsible. Don't exaggerate.
You have a right in this country, thank God, to say what you feel.
Did you hear what I said?
Hold on. As long as I'm not trying to incite violence, as long as I don't insult your mother or your child, I can pretty much say what I choose. And thank God we live in this country. And the fact that you don't agree with it, great. It doesn't matter. We should have people able to say these things. Otherwise, you will just have groupthink. And one last thing, and I don't agree with what you said on the TV about. Of course I don't agree about rape and abortion. But let's just refer to what a man of the cloth says. This is Bishop Mark Davis, who says, I think we should all be grateful for the integrity of politicians like Jacob Rees-Mogg, who who fearlessly speak of those Christian convictions on which our society was built. Lastly, he totally respects the fact that you don't agree with a single word he says, and he applauds the fact that you say that. Why can't you say the same about him? That is what it's about.
Did
Stop
you hear
censoring.
What I said I can't tell him what to think. I respect.
Well, why are you having a go at him?
No, I'm not. This is what I just said.
You said, I can't find it funny.
I don't. Well, you can't tell me what to find.
But why be so
so now you can tell me what to find funny.
Just let it sound past.
So wait a minute.
Should we join in?
Yeah, join in. Please tell me what.
What is weird about it is that he's on almost every show all the time at the moment, and that's what's weird about it. He's quite clearly, from out there somewhere. He's a sort of. And I have no problem with what he says. I don't agree with him on anything, I don't think.
I actually do have a problem with what he said.
Well, but people are entitled to have a view.
Yes, people are entitled to have.
What I worry about is that if his view is on, if he is on so many shows, so many times, and he's now just pulled in.
No. That's not the worrying.
What I find interesting, actually? There was a report, I think it was last year, that said that a certain percentage of Muslims were opposed to same-sex marriage, and that caused outrage. And what the headlines was. Problem with our Muslim communities, a need to teach them about fundamental British values. But when Jacob Rees-Mogg comes out in his tweed and his pinstripe and says everyone thinks it's delightfully charming, he's now the lead contender, according to some polls, to be the next Tory leader. This isn't like some fringe figure.
But let's just all pray that he does become the next Tory leader. Because if he becomes the next Tory leader, as I said last week, you will never get a Conservative government again.
But I still think we're slightly scooting away from the thing that I thought was really dangerous and possibly pernicious about Jacob Rees-Mogg's statement, which takes us a bit back to Trump, which is in America you have abortion clinics being bombed because of people who are so profoundly against abortion. If you have Jacob Rees-Mogg being lionised in every single TV studio for his views and the way he expresses them, this could lead to a sense that what he says is correct and that women who seek abortion are wrong in any circumstance.
And it's also being portrayed as quite you bring you into it, but it's also being portrayed as quite harmless, as kind of amusing and harm. This is women's lives that we're talking about.
Yeah, well, for me with Jacob Rees-Mogg, I have no problem with him having his views. Where I have a problem is if somebody like that did become leader of the Conservative Party and they hold those sorts of views and they're in a position to influence policy, that's when I have a serious problem. Well, it could happen. It could happen. And I think he does. He wouldn't be doing all the press he's doing. He's not doing it for the fun of it.
He's being a lot more strategic than people like to give him credit for.
Come on, Nick.
Starting an Instagram account. They didn't have Instagram accounts in the 19th
This is a discussion we could have had about the current leader of the Labour Party
and the current president
3 years ago.
And the current president.
We're in the
business of unforeseen events.
But he didn't want to be leader of the Labour Party.
It's true, yeah. And
if he sought to lead the party,
which I'm sure he will at some point,
or in the country, he wouldn't have said what he said on that television interview.
That's not true. Look at what Trump's been able to get away with.
This is a man who is genuinely persuaded by his Christian beliefs. And we should accept and applaud that. Now, if we don't agree with it, and I don't agree with what he says, but I accept his faith.
But hang on. They're not just... if you actually look at the figures now, the majority of Roman Catholics disagree with him.
I'm Christian. I disagree with him.
OK, good.
So, those not necessarily Christian beliefs.
There's no way... If he actually sought high office, do you really think he'd say that?
Well,
he's nothing if not a bright man.
Donald Trump was able to say he grabbed women by and was able to get into the highest office
I feel
of the
you're
land.
not engaging with the issue here. You're putting it back onto his views and acting as if I'm trying to police his views, which I'm not. I've told you I'm not. You can continue asking.
You are being po-faced.
I'm not. I am not the thought police.
Find this a laughing matter.
I believe in freedom of speech and thought and conscience, so I am not trying to police what he thinks. The issue I have is with the reaction people are having to what he thinks, that people think it's harmless and charming and potentially electable. So what do you say about that?
I've said to you already, I applaud the fact that we have free speech.
So do we all.
That's not what I'm asking
We all do.
I know this is a double negative. Which you should never say nor write. But we don't have a right not to be offended. Sometimes
I don't
people
mind
will
being offended. I sit next to you every week. I'm OK with being offended.
Some people will say things that you find offensive.
And
that is just what you accept in the West.
Totally.
Because the other way around is that you have a board that says, no, you're not allowed to say this about abortion, you're not allowed to say that. And I welcome the fact that sometimes I'm offended and I offend other people. That's what we're here to do.
But we agree with you on that.
Nick, is that 25% of Conservative members put him at the top of the person they would like to win. And he's 3 times as ahead of your brother now. Your brother's about 6%. He's at 25%. And what it tells you about a chunk of the Conservative Party.
No, they like straight talkers.
Well,
they like straight talkers.
It's possibly they
And
like straight
authentic
talkers. Actually,
politicians.
or they like people who come from the 19th century.
I wonder whether he would enjoy the same level, as and when the comments about abortion are disseminated more broadly. I wonder if he'll enjoy the same level of support. But people like the reason that, and they've all been through my studio. Boris Johnson, Nigel Farage, Alex Salmond. Now, whether you like them as individuals, the reason that they engage...
You choose interesting friends, don't you, Nick?
That come through the street. Yeah, okay,
Do you draw
with the
a line
exception of one.
somewhere?
They engage because they tell the truth.
Do you draw a line somewhere that people who have deeply held views about things that we consider to be abhorrent? Do you still applaud? I mean, is there any view that you don't applaud?
What do you mean?
So, for example, people who don't believe that women are equal to men.
That's
There are
ridiculous.
people who believe
But
that. In fact, in America, that movement's gaining.
Yeah, but they're
gaining
entitled
ground.
They
to their
are
false
entitled to
views.
their view.
But they're just ridiculous.
No, I'm not. There's nobody who's not entitled to believe what they believe. But do you draw a line where you say it's dangerous to have these kind of views being applauded in politics?
No, I think it's better to air them because then you can see how vacant they are.
I agree with Nick on that.
Yeah.